Good morning. I am Steve Weber. Welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show on Friday, February 19th, and show number 130. Show 130. Alrighty, so last minute change in plans. Our guest, Jay Toops, just spoke to him about 15 minutes ago, and he's got a bit of a medical emergency occurring, so we had to cancel today's guest appearance, and so consequently, I'm just going to go ahead and do the monologue that I already had planned, and then I'll get out of here early. So today's probably only going to be about a 15 or 20 minute show. So hey, things happen, and hopefully Jay will be okay. But we talked about whether we were going to kind of force the issue, and it just didn't make sense to do that. So we'll reschedule Jay in the near future, and we'll just carry on. And so anyway, today short show, probably like I said, about 20 minutes, and the name of my monologue is Game Changing Ideas. Game-changing ideas. There it is. So that'll be coming up in just a moment. All righty. So let me tell you about what's happening next week. Tuesday, the author of Unmasked. It's all about freedom and courage, this book. Freedom to be yourself, courage to be yourself, and that mask that we all wear. And our guest is Katie Huff Mortensen, and she will be joining us on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Spirituality Gone Wild's newest co-creator, newest show host, Victoria Reynolds. She returns. We interviewed Victoria at the end of December, and she has joined the team here. But we're going to have a conversation about spirituality and religion, and what are kind of some of the differences. And she grew up in a very religious environment, and she is today very spiritual, and she was agnostic and a non-believer for a lot of years in between. So she has a unique perspective on that. And I wanted to have that conversation because I've been trying to figure out a good way to have the conversation with people who say, well, spirituality gone wild, is it some kind of religion? And so how do we define spirituality, and how does it maybe differ from religion? So anyway, that'll be next Wednesday, and then plan to go live 5 days next week. So we'll just we'll fill in guests as it goes along, and there. So alrighty, good. So I see Chan is checking in already. Good morning, sir. Welcome. Glad you're here. Enjoy today's broadcast. Alrighty. So again, I'm going to do a short show. I'm just going to do this monologue, and then I'm going to wrap it up and get out of here for the weekend. So, hey, things turn out, I get to, I'll get to, get a start on an early start on the weekend for myself, in that last minute change. But that's all right. We'll just make it work. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and, talk about what I had talked about with the game-changing ideas. And the reason why I wanted to, this game-changing ideas, because the guest that we were planning to have, Jay Toops, he's got a big idea, and he's got a game-changing idea. And, so I wanted to talk about that, but I'm going to save that story for him in terms of what his game-changing idea is. But let's just talk about game-changing ideas, in general. And so my first thought is that big ideas take vision, time, and a good foundation to build on. So, they have to have a vision. All big ideas have some kind of a leader, visionary, someone who just basically says, we're going to do things different. We're going to do things the way they've never been done before. And that person, is there's usually like one person who's kind of the energy behind that whole vision, and that making it happen, and by the force of their will, these things they come about. But they also do take time, and they take a foundation. So the big leaders, the big people who have done things, they never have instant success. It doesn't just happen. Although it looks like an overnight success. Actors and different performers and artist types have always, talked about, I'm an overnight success after, 20 years of, playing in, dive bars or toiling along at their craft, not having much success at all, and then all of a sudden, kaboom. So that's that foundation that gets built, and that's the time that it takes, but it's that holding on to a vision. And so I'm personally inspired by those kinds of stories. Throughout history, there's been lots of examples of that. The four robber barons, the industrialists back at the late 1800s, Carnegie, with steel, and how he wanted to build a bridge across the Mississippi, and that led to basically the steel industry coming about. Henry Ford, automobiles, Vanderbilt, the railroads, Rockefeller, oil. These people all built empires, and yet they all just started with an idea, a pretty simple idea, but they had the vision, and they laid down a foundation, and then once that foundation was built, boom, it exploded. It just took off. So Edison, the whole electrical grid, gosh, it was only, I don't know, I don't know the year when. I'm thinking 1880s, but I'm not sure. But the idea that we're going to electrify cities. That was 140 years ago. There was no electricity, and now how would we run our houses without it? So in today's world, Steve Jobs is the classic example of a visionary who changed our world, by creating and introducing computers that were friendly and easy to use for the average person. And then lots of other people, built on that idea and executed it better than he did for many years, and brought the computers to the masses. And gosh, I started my career working in the early 80s, and I remember they were like a decision. Well, we're going to buy a computer, and we're going to have one computer. We'll have a computer lab, and if you want to use the computer, you go to the computer lab, and you work on your project there, and then you return to your workspace, and you do your regular work, but if you want to use the computer, you got to go to your computer lab and do it. But, that all changed our world. And Steve Jobs was that visionary, and, all the products that he created under, using Apple computer. He got fired from the company for incompetence, and he came back and took over the company, so fantastic story. The technology companies today, a little bit of a different story there. The pieces were all in place. Let me rephrase this. So the technology companies today, the Amazon and Google, and they built some pretty incredible products, and they've done things really, really well. But it was like in those cases, there was certainly people who drove those companies and made them all work. But it was really kind of being at the right place at the right time, and then executing really, really well and making that all happen. So they were visionary people who ran those companies, but they were like visionary in the way that they executed, as opposed to, just like completely inventing some kind of a brand new concept like like Ford did with automobile manufacturing, or Carnegie did with steel manufacturing, or even Steve Jobs did with the personal computer thing. So not to take anything away from these billionaires that, have done these things, because they've done great things, but it's slightly different, is I guess what I'm saying. Maybe not quite the same kind of a vision. Now, in my own life, I've had this vision of Gumption, create a worldwide Gumption movement. And, I've really spent the last 10 years, I probably spent about 5 years before I actually did anything. And then the last 10 years, laying down that foundation. And, turned out I had a whole lot of personal development work to do. And, that was like kind of the first thing that happened as I got deep into the idea of creating some kind of a Gumption movement. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to clean up my own house. My own backyard has a little bit of a mess back there, and we got to clean that stuff up. And so the personal development work, took a couple of years, and here it is 10 years later, and it's still ongoing. And it's really the area that I find myself going more into, with Gumption just sort of being the avenue towards that. But during that foundation during the foundation years for any of these great ideas, it's, educating oneself, learning new skills, becoming competent, developing competencies in different areas, and a lot of experimentation, trying this, does this work? Does that work? So it's not a simple, it's never a simple path, to get there. So, I'm getting some shamanic love. Thank you, shamanic love. We appreciate your stopping in and encourage. I could always use some more shamanic love, so I'm loving that. So thank you very much. Alrighty, so back to the idea that this foundation you lay down, and again, my time over the last 10 years. And our guest, Victoria, I was on a call with her yesterday, and she talked about, the work that the people in the spiritual community have been doing the last 10 years. And 10 years ago, they were kind of just talking to themselves. And now we're beginning to talk to the world. And so, she mentioned the idea of a foundation that had been laid down over the last 10 years. These are people who are committed to it. And our guest who wasn't or is not appearing today, but, we will reschedule, Jay, he's got a vision for, something that could change the world in terms of our energy and our trash and our waste. And, I sure would love to see that work, because that would be a game changer. And he's been at it for a good 10 years. And, so anyway, we'll save that story for when he gets here, when he's ready to go. One of the phrases I learned, from a friend, Karen, back in Montana in, I'm going to say 2012, maybe 2011, was getting ready to get ready. And it was kind of that idea of like laying down that foundation, getting ready to get ready. And, at some point we have to be ready, but at some point before we're ready, we're getting ready to get ready. And I liked that phrase. I liked it then a lot, and then I kind of got to not liking it when I felt like I was ready and I wasn't taking action. And so I felt like it became an excuse. So it's one of those, getting ready to get ready is kind of a funny thing. Like if you're not ready, you're getting ready to get ready, then it's the right thing. But if you are ready, then it's basically some kind of procrastination and avoiding maybe what needs to, be, fear of stepping into where you need to go. So 2 years ago, I kind of was like, feeling like I was ready, and I was feeling like I suddenly had the idea that I needed to leave Montana. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, the reason I came to Montana is completed. It's time to go. And I loved Montana, and it was a wonderful place for that getting ready part. But once you're ready, it was time for me to get back out into the world. And I remember a friend saying to me, who was my mentor and friend in Montana. And he said, man, I feel like you're running away. And that bothered me. And I went home and I thought about it, and I go, was I running away? And then I realized, no, I'm running towards, so what I needed to do was out there in the world. And so you're running towards, so you're ready, and now you're running towards. And if you stay there, then you're hiding, and you're not going back out into the world. So, and I realized that what I needed to do had to be accomplished outside of Montana. And so it was like, so I was feeling ready. Now, ironically, I end up meeting shortly thereafter, Debbie G and Spirituality Gone Wild. And I was ready to start this show, the morning show. And so Debbie just kind of showed up, wasn't on my radar at all. Boom, here she was. And, we talked about doing a show, and I was ready to do a show, but I was thinking I needed to launch it and do it on my own. And, I didn't necessarily want to do that. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. It just, I didn't know how to do it. So when you partnered up with somebody, it became like a lot easier to just. So that was the beauty of Spirituality Gone Wild. It was a community that I was able to be part of, and it gave me the confidence to just go forward without having to do it all on my own. And that's really, and Debbie is a visionary for Spirituality Gone Wild. And there's this community of people, coaches, and people with courses and online courses, and people are learning in ways that they never learned before, because it's possible to do it. So you have all these people rushing into the space of like providing online learning and e-learning. It was called years ago, and now it's more like courses, and you build a tribe and a community. Debbie's vision is take those people and bring the right people together, form coalitions, and make that community bigger, so that you end up giving a whole lot more value to all of the members of the community than any one person can give value to their particular community. Now, maybe it's not as personable, but it still can be personable, because you have that same group of, you have that same individual teachers that people can grab onto, but they also have other options. And one of the things that I've learned in the personal development world is that, you learn from somebody for, a couple months or maybe a year, and then you kind of figure out what they learn, and you want to move on to somebody else. And so the beauty of what Debbie and Spirituality Gone Wild is creating is that there's a lot of different ideas and thoughts, and because a lot of there's no one size fits all, and so the people who are interested in this type of information are going to be also interested in the type of information that that I would share with people, or that Debbie herself shares with people, or Victoria is going, is joining our team and sharing, or Serenity Sam shares with people, or David Strickle, or Scott Stanfield. So this whole community of people, and I'm missing, 10 other people that I didn't mention from the Spirituality Gone Wild. And so we're all bringing our energies and our coalition together. And then the people who join the community, the membership, well, for a fraction of what it would cost to be a member of all of those different communities, you get it all, for the price of one. And it's a monthly membership, $22 a month. So not a huge amount, and certainly zero amount, not zero, but $22 a month if you just want to dabble in it and try it out. So anyway, this is all forthcoming, and that's Debbie's vision. I'm going to share my screen though, because I got one video to show here. Here we go. Not a video, an image. And here we go. Here it is. The lone wolf joins the pack. So I had, so I was the lone wolf, and I prided myself, and I had a neon moon doggy with the wolf howling, or the dog howling at the moon. And, that was I prided myself in being the lone wolf. And so I had the lone wolf in the upper right-hand corner of the collage there. There was the lone wolf, and I had that up, and from my guest Tamara Fleming from, 50 shows ago, she had talked about you want to put things around your environment that say who you are, so that you can lean into that idea and remind you of who you are. And so I had the lone wolf up, and I went, wait a minute. I realized I caught myself, but that's who I was. And so I found this other picture of a wolf pack, right? And there's the wolf getting noogies from the other wolves. And so that's, this is part of my screensavers. I have a whole bunch of different screensaver ideas that rotate through. This is one of the images. And so every time I see that, it's like, okay, I am no longer the lone wolf. I'm part of the community, the Spirituality Gone Wild community. And the lone wolf no more. I'm just part of the pack, and then the beauty of being part of that. Whoops, there we go. The beauty of being part of a community is that you can bring your own skills, to a higher level, meaning, I can focus more on the things that I like to do and the things that I'm really good at doing, and not have to worry about some of the other things. And so this is the idea of this community that Debbie is, taking. So kind of wrap this up. I just want to talk about the world community and how everything is changing. And of course, COVID last year was like this major disruptive year. It's almost 1 year since the lockdowns really began. It was in March, so it's a good 10 months or 11 months at this point, coming up on a year. But the whole idea of, what Steve Jobs did with the personal computer and the internet and everybody now being connected, it's like we are communicating in a way that we never had an opportunity to communicate on a worldwide basis. And so, all of the traditional industries and communication tools that we had started breaking down probably 20 plus years ago. And Amazon was, in books, that was like one of the very, very, very first industries that completely broke down as a result of the information or computer age, and digital publishing came about. And so there used to be traditional publishers, and you had to get an agent, and you had to get a book company. And if you wanted to publish a book, boom, you had to go through that process. And it was a gatekeeper who gatekeepers along the way that you had to, get their approval, each step. And it was like a process on, how do you get published, that sort of thing. And then it just all, you could just buy a digital form book, and you can publish a digital form book. And so books became, infinite in terms of the numbers that are possible. And then so that the book publishing industry was one of the first casualties of the information age, but now they're all coming on fast in terms of breaking down. And so what's happening today is our world, our governments and our media, that's where it's all breaking down right at the moment, is that, they've been the gatekeeper of that type of information, but now all kinds of information's being available. And it's a very interesting thing with the technology companies who are suddenly, in this last couple of months to last year, it's like evolved and changed in terms of like they're really ramping up their the logarithms, not whatever you call the algorithms. There it is. Algorithms, what information gets shared and what information can you see, and the shadow banning and all of that. So there's these gatekeepers who are like new gatekeepers who are emerging and silencing voices that they don't agree with. And so, it's this very, very changing world. And yet, information, is like sunlight, right? You can't stop it. And it's just all out there. And we all now have options, and new options will appear. And so old traditional media, traditional governments, non-government agencies that kind of control big things like that, it's all changing. It's all evolving. And the old ways are getting tossed out, and new ways are, coming in. So we'll see how that all appears. So that's it. So good ideas can't be stopped. Good ideas can't be stopped. And the guest that I had scheduled, he has a great idea. It has to be executed on, and I'm sure it has technical challenges, and I'm sure it has, traditional people who won't like what happens as a result of it. But people, when they hear the idea, they just might like it a lot more, and they might just demand it, and it might just happen. So anyway, we'll get that rescheduled, that interview. But basically, that's all I wanted to do in terms of telling you about game-changing ideas. Let me throw this up there. Yeah, the monologue, game-changing ideas. When they happen, boom, the whole world changes, and you can't go back ever again to the old way once that genie gets let out of the bottle. All righty. Well, that's it for today. Let me tell you what's going to happen next week, and then I'll sign off here. We're at 27 past the hour already. Got a minute or two late start, but anyway, next week, Katie Huff Mortensen, author of Unmasked. She will join us on Tuesday, and Victoria Reynolds. We're going to talk about spirituality versus religion, and not even a versus, but, kind of like, what is spirituality? What is religion? How do they, this will be her ideas, and I'll be adopting some of those ideas for myself in terms of ways that I can communicate those, because people sometimes say, Steve, spirituality gone wild, is it some kind of a religion? Not really. It's just some kind of a way of looking at the world and the universe and the human experience and figuring out what's right for you. So, alrighty, that's it for today, everybody. Have a great weekend. I will see everybody on Monday. Alrighty, have a great day.